Now, this show was the first to entertain the idea that the Biden administration's border immigration policies alone were an impeachable offense. And now we have a new reason. He knew it over a year ago. The New York Times reports that in March of 2021, Biden was livid. He had been in office only 2 months, and there was already a crisis at the southwest border, and his aides were blaming one another. Mr. Biden grew so angry at their attempts to duck responsibility that he erupted, "Who do I need to fire to fix this?" He was apparently so livid, that he continued to undermine Trump's successful policies and in the process allowed 2 million plus border crossings. So just like COVID, I think some red states have said enough, and that includes Alabama, where Attorney General Steve Marshall is suing the administration for ignoring immigration law. He joins us now. Mr. Attorney General, good to see you. Now, first off, I got to hit that supposed Biden being livid. Do you buy that? That sounds like such cleanup on aisle 4, given what's going on, that, well, Biden really wanted it fixed, but it was other people who didn't fix it.
Yeah, if he was so interested in getting it fixed, we wouldn't have had the 100-day moratorium is one of the first acts of this administration. And we've seen in multiple efforts by Alabama and other states in pushing back on the immigration efforts of this administration where they're continuing to lose in court. And frankly, Lord, it's an outrage that we had to file the case this week just to simply get the Biden administration to do their job.
Now, so far this fiscal year, Customs and Border Protection, they've seized over 67,000 pounds of marijuana, 78,000 pounds of meth, 23,000 pounds of coke, and over 4,000 pounds of fentanyl. Now, how bad is it in Alabama? I mean, we know it's all over the country, but how bad is it there? People don't think of Alabama as a drug-infested state, but what's happened there?
Yeah, we're not a border state, but we seized 8 pounds of fentanyl just last week with good efforts of law enforcement on the border. And as you've described many times on this show about the absolute siege that the cartel is imposing upon this country with clandestine drugs coming across our border. And we talk an awful lot about the deaths during COVID, but if you look at that same period of time between 18 and 45, we lost more people in this country to overdose deaths on the age group than we did to COVID. It's a significant problem, and yet we have this administration now who doesn't want to deport drug traffickers, aggravated felons who come into our communities, are here unlawfully, have violated our criminal laws, but yet they don't want to report them and send them home. And hopefully our lawsuit is one of the ways of forcing this administration to do what Congress told them they shall do, and that's to send these individuals back home.
Mr. Attorney General, I've floated this idea. If a phone call to Zelensky, that's the standard for an impeachable offense? How is this not an impeachable offense? A conspiracy to undermine U.S. sovereignty and U.S. immigration law. I mean, how is that not impeachable?
It's an absolute dereliction of duty. You've seen this administration on countless occasions do everything they can to enhance border crossings, not to be able to secure our border, not to be allowed border control to be able to do their jobs. And the net result of that is not only our communities being less safe, but also we're allowing people that Congress has already identified as more likely to commit crimes in communities once they're released. And that's those that this Biden administration is not deporting and sending back to the countries where they came from.
Well, I'm going to follow this lawsuit very closely. And again, Attorney General Marshall, thank you. He described Alabama as a superhighway for fentanyl and other human trafficking and so forth. It's shocking. Thank you for doing what you're doing.